Welcome everyone to Whistler Olympic Park in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. It's the 2023 FIS Nordic Junior and U23 World Ski Championships. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Scholes. I've got Tim Wintanyu here. It's the U23 mixed relay coming up, the final competition for cross country at this event. And Tim, we saw in the juniors athletes rising above for their team, and we've got the U23 now coming up for the relay.
Yeah, see, we saw some of those athletes rise up and fight it out for a medal position. You know, it's a long week of racing. We're coming down to our final event. I think we're going to see a lot of battles out there today in this U23 mixed relay.
Yeah, so before we get to that U23 mixed relay, let's take a look back at a wonderful week of racing for under 23 athletes here in Whistler.
Yeah, here we have day one with the sprints for the U23 women. It was Yasmin Cajera dominating the heats and now into the final.
Yeah, Stephen, what a beautiful day that first race of the championships was. The sun was shining. You know, Cajera, bib number one, fastest qualifier of the day, went out in every heat, leading, taking charge, and that's what we're seeing here. That day one.
Flawless technique by Cajera of Finland, pushing the pace, going through heartbreak corners, staying upright on that tricky corner on the sprint course, leading it out as they head up the final climb before the stadium. Fosnes of Norway sitting there, number 3, just trying to hang on to Cajera, but Cajera pushing through the stadium here around the corner. Fosnes just on her skis, but it was Cajera, U23 world champion.
And Fosnes there in second place, and Foyen fighting it out for third.
That's for the Norwegians. So there is Cajera on the top step of the podium. So happy with that U23 World Championship.
Stephen, she's going to be taking the first leg of the mixed relay today, so look for her pushing that pace as she did in the sprint.
So now here are the men. First day of competition in the sunshine here at Whistler Olympic Park. The final 2 Italians, 2 Swedes, and 2 Norwegians. So it was the Swede, Earson, leading it out. That was 105, Earson. And then Danielson on the right, pushing the pace, but then the attack. This was the attack.
Evenson just had that surge. You know, I remember in his interview, he talked about skiing the heats as cheap as possible, conserving energy for that final, and he saved so much energy for that attack, and on this final climb as we're about to see them ski up.
Evenson with a blistering attack, pulling ahead. The 2 Swedes couldn't close the gap.
But they battled it out for that second and third position.
So Evenson leading around, going for a world championship, and then the battle for silver. Earson and Danielson driving to the line, with Earson getting the silver, Danielson getting the bronze. And Danielson's brother taking the silver in the junior race earlier that day. And there is Evenson, U23 world champion.
Stephen, the surprise during that final was Jonas Fika. Again, won medals later on in the week. We'll see some of those highlights, so look for him in that relay team as well. He's taking the second leg.
So here is your podium. Evenson, Earson, and Danielson. They were the top 3. And here we are, Whistler Olympic Park. So that was the sprint on day 1, and that was so exciting. Obviously, Evenson, just a dominating performance in that final heat. Earson looking strong for the Swedes to finish up there.
Steve, we see here, you know, in the shots earlier, we had snow coming down this morning. Now there's a little bit of a light rain. We'll see if that changes again, because that's going to come into play for this relay that's about to happen.
And after the sprints, we had the mass start races, and here is the men's 20K, the start. So this was for the mass start. It kicked off. We had the junior men racing. This is Holbeck and
yeah, definitely
Angela.
the 4 Norwegians in this junior men's race broke away with Antola. So those 4 red suits there of Norway battling it out with the Finnish skier.
And there's Hagen. Hagen, who led out who was the anchor leg for the junior mixed relay for Norway. But this was such a battle early in the week between Antola and Hagen. Antola, stone cold Antola, trying everything to try and drop this man Holbach, but Holbach able to take a junior world championship here at Whistler Olympic Park. Holbach learning how to celebrate a world championship win. Antola, second place in that junior men's mass start race.
And Collerud taking third.
For that, the junior men there celebrating for Norway, first and third.
And we saw Holbach earlier today, Stephen, that mixed relay.
And here is the women's skate interval start. Norway's Bergana. So strong in the mass start, and then the individual start, pushing the pace here.
Yes, we saw her earlier in that classic race, pushing the pace the whole way around, and she did the same thing in this individual skate.
And at the end, it was only 4 seconds. She was leading at the top of the big climb, at the top of the course, but 4 seconds down at the finish. And here is Maciej of Poland. Very strong at times. She was leading the individual start race for the 10K for the women, pushing to the finish. She knew it was going to be close. She knew it. She was getting splits out there, driving to the line. And it turned out to be a second out of gold, but very happy with that performance. She had to deliver today, and she did. She was in the hot seat for quite some time.
And Steve, she was so composed throughout that entire race.
And here is Helen Hoffman. Last year in the skate race, she took a junior world championship. First year in the U23 category. Helen Hoffman, flawless in a race, but she needed a final 2 kilometers to push to a gold medal, a second at the end. And there is Helen Hoffman, junior world champion last year, U23 world champion this year. There's your podium. Hoffman, Maciej, and Bergana. So now we've got today's race coming up. The final cross-country competition, Tim, the U23 mixed relay. It was so exciting for the juniors. The U23 coming up very shortly.
Yeah, Stephen, it's looking like the weather's pretty stable. You know, we had snow coming down this morning, little bit of rain, light rain coming down now, which as a wax tech, you'd rather see rain than snow, but it could change out there. And if it does, especially during the first 2 classic legs, it could really put an advantage or a disadvantage to some athletes depending on wax choice.
And there is Fosnes. She took a gold in the classic. She's got a great smile on her face. That's always a good sign going into the relay. She'll be leading the Norwegian team. There is the Terminator. That is Lisa Lohmann of Germany. Definitely a team that could challenge here today. The Germans, could they unseat the Norwegians?
They could. She's definitely had some strong results here at these championships. Second in that classic race, 4th in the skate. You know, the whole German team just solid, great results all week long.
So we're getting close here, folks, for the U23 mixed relay. The athletes will be heading to the start line very shortly. Here we go.
We're now ready to start the race for the
Coast Outdoors is Canada's premier cross-country ski store. We're proud sponsors of this year's World U23 Cross-Country Ski Championships at Whistler Olympic Park. We carry the best cross-country skis, boots, poles, clothing, and more. If you're serious about this sport, check out coastoutdoors.ca.
Here we are, Whistler Olympic Park, site of the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Nordic events. The snow looks like it might be coming back here. We had a break, maybe not. It's just right at that point where maybe a little bit of snow falling. The weather could be a factor here. Welcome to the FIS Nordic Junior and U23 World Ski Championships, the U23 relay coming up, Tim.
Yeah, and Stephen, what makes this so exciting is that it's a mixed relay. So we'll see the women started off with a classic leg. They will tag off to a man doing a classic leg, and then another tag off woman doing a skate leg, and then the final, the anchor, man, anchor.
Yeah, so they'll be doing
skate leg.
They'll be doing 4 times 5 kilometers. You can see the athletes getting ready. We're just a few minutes away from the start. The Norwegians gonna lead out with Fosnes, the classic U23 world champion from this event. And there you see the athletes being released towards the start. So again, it's women, our first athlete, and then the men, then the women, and then the men.
Yeah, Stephen, you can see, look at that weather. You know, it's outside, it's above zero, but we got a mix of kind of rain, kind of snow coming down. That always makes things so tough for these first 2 classic legs. You know, are they gonna go with a grip wax, or are they gonna do what we call rub skis or harries, where they actually take sandpaper and just roughen up that grip zone and allowing those hairs that they've created to grip the snow?
Yeah, and if you remember those 2010 Olympics, and if you're Norwegian, you know what happened there. The Norwegians fell off the pace.
And Steve, I saw some of those athletes running up with skis. There is a mix. Some athletes have grip wax, and there was a couple skis that I saw that were just sanded bases with harries. So we do have a mix of harries and grip wax out there.
Wow, so this is going to be interesting, folks. Some different considerations on the waxing side. Fosnes, they're leading out for the Norwegians. Definitely the favorites are the Norwegians. Tim, take us through who you think are the top teams to watch.
Well, Steve, those Norwegians have been so dominant at these championships. I feel like they're dominant at every championship, so look for them to, you know, push that pace early on, try to secure that lead early, especially in legs 1 and 2. You know, some of those other teams that have had solid results here, you know, that can't rule out the Swiss team, the Germans, the Americans, and also Italy and France could be battling out for that bronze position.
Yeah, and it's going to be, I think, very interesting. The Germans looking very strong here. Could they unseat the Norwegians? Going to be tough. And there is your start list. Norway, France, Switzerland, Finland, Germany, Sweden, Italy, Czechia, Japan, US, Canada, Kazakhstan, Australia, and Slovakia. 14 teams in the U23 mixed relay. Our final cross-country competition. That is the Swiss skier.
Nadia Kalin there. You know, she's had 18th in the skate race, 5th in that 20K Classic, 15th in the sprint. So she is leading out that Swiss team here today.
Let's talk a little bit about the Canadians, Tim. Leading them out will be Jasmine Lyons. And here we have the course.
So the classic leg, this first 2 legs will be heading out on the black course you see there on the map. So they've taken out those 2 big climbs that we saw earlier in the week, Steve. You know, I expect that's going to keep the teams a little closer together, less chance for athletes to break away. So the first 2 legs are going to do the black course. They're going to loop through the stadium, exchange off. Legs 3 and 4 are going to be skate, which will be following that yellow course. You can see there's a big downhill into a flat in the middle of that course, so look for that skate course to be really fast and setting up for an exciting finish.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. The junior race, the mixed relay, was so exciting. And again, we talked about athletes rising to the occasion. They're fighting for their team now, not just themselves. And we saw that definitely in the junior race.
Yeah, and Stephen, oftentimes, you know, it takes some of that pressure off. These athletes aren't going for an individual performance. They're going for that team performance. And so some of that pressure is relieved.
And here we are underway with the U23 mixed relay, our final cross-country ski event at these Nordic Junior and U23 World Ski Championships. Fosnes taking it out in the red for Norway, but the French skier, Yvonne Duchefort, she raced to a silver medal last year in U23. She anchored the French team. Here she's leading it out for the French team. That's 22. And this is interesting, the grip here. Some of the skiers going herringbone, but the Swedish skiers look like they had good grip here. That is Louise Lindström on the outside there.
And then Nadia Kalin on the inside for the Swiss team. So those two skiers are leading this field as they go up their first climb. You know, Steve, they're doing 2 times 2.5, so a total of 5K per leg. And it's a real interesting distance. You know, those pure sprinters out there who are skiing, they want a shorter course, so they start to suffer after 5K, whereas our distance skiers who are competing, they're only getting warmed up after 5K.
And we saw in the 20K Classic, it was Lisa Lohman and Fosnes who were 1 and 2. Sorry, it was Fosnes 1, Lohman 2. So they're leading this out, but it is, as Tim noted, a shorter distance, only 5K. So that can change the dynamics.
Steve, there we got Fosnes there up front, bib 21, and bib 30 there, Sydney Palmer-Ledger from the US. It is her birthday today. She's had some great results at the championship, so a big shout out to the birthday girl. Can she stay up front and set the team up early in this relay?
Sydney Palmer-Ledger turning 21 today. What a way to celebrate your 21st birthday with a U23 mixed relay. So she had a great classic race, 8th in the mass start. So that's how she got this spot to lead out the US team. But right in the middle of your screen, you see 25, Lisa Lohman, 2nd in the classic mass start.
Yeah, Steve, the Terminator, Lisa Lohm, just so composed, so focused out there in her skiing.
She never shows any weakness, any emotion. She will leave it all out there, but she's got that poker face as she leads this race, and it looks like she wants to set the pace on this 5K, but still a large pack together.
Yeah, Steve, and that's what we were expecting. You know, they're coming up to that plateau. They're not going to go on to the first big climb that we saw earlier the week, and so this might keep those teams together and make for some action-packed exchanges.
Yeah, so you can see number 30 in that second row. That's Sydney Palmer-Ledger for the U.S.
And as you said earlier, 8th place in the Classic, 9th in the skate race. So great results for her at these championships.
Yeah, and you see Nicole Monsorno for the Italian. She's just on that inside on that second row. She turns 23 in 3 days, so she's very close to her birthday. She was 22nd in the Lavina World Cup in Italy just a couple weeks ago. So she's in good form, and you can see still a large pack here together. This is just the first of 2.5 kilometer laps on this first leg, so still very, very close together here for our U23 mixed relay.
Yeah, Steve, you might see things string out a little bit on that second lap. You know, if it stays this tight, that exchange zone when it comes time to exchange to leg 2 can get pretty chaotic.
So there's our pack, still a good 10 skiers, and you can see the Australians in there as well. That is Tuva Bygrave. She skis with the University of Alaska at Anchorage, so she's got a strong start. So Bygrave of Australia starting strong here.
Steve, there's a shot of one of the Italian athletes. You know, great result for them earlier today with bronze in that junior mixed relay. So they're hoping to channel some of that energy from the juniors and have a great performance out there today.
Yeah, and one of the Japanese skier looked like Japan was in that front group. That was Kobayashi of the Japanese team leading. She just competed at the University Games, the World University Games in Lake Placid. So coming across North America here to Vancouver, the Vancouver area, 2 hours north of Vancouver, Whistler Olympic Park, just up the Sea to Sky Highway, looking out on Howe Sound. And there is Jonas Vika. He'll be the second leg for the Norwegian team.
He had a strong classic race. Oh, I mean, here come the women. Who's that in the lead there? There's, I believe that's Kalin for Switzerland in the lead, right in behind her, Lisa Lohman, then the Italian.
So I'm counting, I think 14. I think all 14 teams are still together. I'm going to say this is unexpected. We saw things break up relatively quickly in our junior mixed relay, but right now all the teams together, and I wonder, you can see the rain, you can see that mixed participation coming down, and that's keeping things together as Kalin of Switzerland leads it out, then Lohman of Germany, the U.S. in there, number 30, number 27, that's the Italian Monsorno, 26, that's the Swedish team. That's Louise Lindstrom. She's had some great results at past World Junior Championships. She's got a lot of experience with this kind of pressure. And now, on the right of your screen, 21, Kristen Fosnes coming to the front. Looks like maybe she's deciding to push the pace here. And Hoffman just quickly sneaks in behind her. She knows Fosnes is a dangerous skier here and thinking maybe she might try a move here as they have this small climb with Fosnes at the front there, 21 of Norway, 23 is Nadja Kalin of Switzerland. But all the teams still together, all 14 teams in this U23 relay still together.
Yeah, Stephen, they're now just descending back into the stadium. They're going to go out onto lap 2. So again, each leg is doing 2 laps of 2.5 kilometers out there. And in that junior race, that's where we saw things spread out, was on that second lap of each of the legs is where the pace was pushed.
So getting a little bit of separation there. You see the Canadian Jasmine Lyons holding with this lead pack. And as they descend into the stadium, at the end of their first 2.5 kilometer lap, each skier doing 2 times 2.5 kilometers. Fosnes now pushing, double pulling. You see on the left, the 21-year-old, as of today, Sydney Palmer-Ledger, number 30 for the U.S.
And it's so great to see 31 Jasmine Lyons still in that lead pack. She's still in a great position.
Jasmine Lyons with the University of New Hampshire. So a large pack together here. Fosnes, the classic U23 world champion from earlier in the week. Hoffman, who was second in that race. Then Monsorno. Now Monsorno, she was 16th in that classic race, but she's holding with Fosnes and Lohman.
And Steve, it looks like there's a lot of precipitation coming down, that whole mix of rain and snow, and that just makes it so much more difficult to be out front, be in the lead. You know, you're breaking trail, breaking track as those tracks fill in with that mixture of snow and rain. And so the athletes here are sitting second, third, in behind and are being patient, are often set up a lot better to make a surge later on in this race.
Yeah, and we're just gonna be able to see kind of the grip here. It looks like the Norwegian just struggling a little bit, but Lohman, look at the Terminator driving the pace here. Germany, I think, has a small chance to dethrone the Norwegians. And could they get a gap here on this first leg as just a few meters opening between the Norwegians, Germans, and then the Italians?
This is what we saw earlier in that junior race. It was the Norwegian and the Swede that broke away early, and here we see the Norwegians and the Germans trying to push that pace. But it's great to see Monsorno, bib 27, still going strong, as well as the Americans, bib 30, Sydney Palmer-Ledger, the birthday girl.
Sydney Palmer-Ledger, who wanted a peak for these, and I think, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but she had a chance to participate in the Tour de Ski on the World Cup. But she declined that so she could be at top
that's right,
here.
Steve. She qualified to go race on the World Cup early January, but her focus was these championships, and so she declined those starts to train and not deal with jet lag of flying to Europe, flying back to these championships, and it showed that some great results this week of an 8th and a 9th place.
Yeah, now Sydney Palmer-Ledger, interesting, she also raced a lot of mountain bikes. She was the national champion, I think, as a 16 and 18-year-old, and we were talking with her, and she's raced here before in mountain biking, so she likes this area, and so far, she's having a great U23 first leg, but you can see she's pushing hard. She wants to rise to the occasion here and set up the Americans going into that second leg, but this is the second lap of our first leg right now, as Lohman and Fosnes, Germany and Norway push the pace, a small gap there. Monsorno of Italy trying to stay with them.
Oh, and Sydney, they're just lacking a little bit of grip to get up over the top of that climb. That might be okay, though, because we have some descents. You want that speed, especially coming into that stadium, you know. And we talked earlier how important this first leg is, sort of sets the tone for the race for all the other legs. So, you know, Germany, Norway out front there, they're thinking about setting up leg 2.
Yeah, and you can see Lohman. That's the first time we've seen her grit her teeth like that. She is pushing at her maximum right now to open a gap here on the other teams. Lohman, the Terminator, driving the pace here. on this first leg of the U23 mixed relay, but Italy and the US are right there as well. A gap back to Switzerland and France. Jasmine Lyons of the Canadians in that group. Oh, and look at Cajera.
It looks like her hair is broken. She is looking fatigued, and that is why this 5 kilometer distance is just so challenging and so tough out there.
The sprint world champion for U23 earlier in the week can't hold the pace. Lohmann driving for the Germans. Now Palmer Ledger of the Americans sitting in third spot.
She knows she has to try and close that gap to set up for the second leg.
And Lyons of Canada in sixth spot right now. Cajera, the Finnish skier, at her limit. She can't hang there. She is sitting seventh spot for the Finns. So we're in our first leg of the mixed relay. It goes classic, classic, skate, skate, woman, man, woman, man. There is 34.
That's Slovakia, Steve. Klementova from Slovakia.
So she's a first-year U23 skier, sitting about eighth spot right now. There's the Czech team, the Japan team, Australia with a solid start here. And here's Kazakhstan. Yeah, there's 14 countries in total in this competition. They were very close for the first 2.5 kilometers. But Lohmann of Germany, the Terminator, has put the hammer down.
And Stephen, you can see in that last shot, those athletes who are waiting for the exchange got their rain jackets out. They want to try and stay dry. It's looking really wet out there.
And there is Palmer Ledger driving as hard as she can. And there is Lyons, Jasmine Lyons for the Canadians, sitting sixth spot right beside the Swiss skier Kaylin. A very strong race here for Jasmine Lyons, rising up here for these U23 mixed relays.
Yeah, Steve, she had a 13th place in that classic race, 17th on the skate. She was so strong, dominant at the trials in Prince George. Yeah, great racing from Jasmine Lyons out there.
So 6 seconds between the front two and that next group, and they're finishing up their first leg. Oh, look at the power there. Oh, but Sydney Palmer Ledger just having to hop out of the track.
She's lacking just a little bit of grip, but it's definitely going to help in that descent going into the stadium, as well as the double pole. So it's about 300 meters of double pole they have before they tag off to leg two.
So what you're seeing here is the climb, the final climb of each lap. They rise up above the stadium. Lohmann and Fosnes side by side, pushing the pace. Now you've got, look at this, Lyons is catching up for the Canadians. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that battle for third right now. This is just the first of 4 legs. Palmer Ledger pushing hard.
10 seconds to the top 2 skiers, so that gap isn't that big. It definitely can be bridged in the exchange zone, or leg 2 skiers can easily put a surge in to close up that gap and get in behind for a rest.
Now, the Norwegians, they're going to hand off to Jonas Vika, who was the world champion in the classic race earlier this week. The Germans will be handing off to Jan Friedrich Durks. The Americans will be handing off to Zanon McMullen. So here we have, descending into the stadium, that group that's battling for third place. There's Fosnes now in the lead, pushing the pace here. Lohmann right behind her. This was almost a replay of the finish of the classic mass start. They're going to be handing off here. They've completed the first leg. What is that time gap back to third and fourth? But Lohmann hanging with the Norwegians, but it's going to be tough now for Jan Friedrich Durks of the German team to hold on to Jonas Vika. Jonas Vika going to be leading for the Norwegians.
Yeah, Stephen, here's the first exchange. They pass the whiskers. That exchange hand to body has to take place in the exchange zone. Jonas Vika, taking the lead there. He was first place in that classic race, third in the skate. We also talked to him earlier today. He wanted us to give a shout out to his girlfriend Mari, as well as his family. So if they're watching, a shout out from Jonas Vika to them.
Yeah, so we just see the handoff there, and that gap is closing, definitely. That gap is closing, I think, between those two groups. There's the Swede, Kavanbrink. Oh, look at that pack in the battle for third. Now, Jonas Vika, he was the champion in the 20K mass start. We were talking to him yesterday, definitely feeling good about these championships, feeling confident, but the Germans are right there. Can the Germans hold with him?
Yeah, Stephen, well, it's only a matter of time. There's Zandon McMullen, you know, surging, trying to close that gap. It's so important to close the gap, get in behind someone, and then have a little bit of a rest or let them pull you around.
Yeah, look at this. Big Z, Zandon McMullen, closing that gap, but you've got to pace yourself. And who is that for the Canadians, Tim?
That is Remy Joulet skiing. He's still in the mix there, still fighting it out for that third position. Again, it's early on. We got a couple more legs after us, after these skiers, but Jonas Vika still leading. You know, he skied that, thinking back to that classic mass start, he skied it so smart, so well. Just hung in there, waited for the final climb to sprint away. So he's definitely showing that he's a smart skier out there, and he's gonna be skiing in control and probably putting a surge in second lap round.
Yeah, so Jan Friedrich Durks, he was 14th in the classic race, but he's had very, very strong classic results this season. He got a second place in the Opa Cup in Oberstdorf just a few weeks ago in the 20K Classic, so a very strong classic skier. But Jonas Vika, that gap is closing again. It's not clear if maybe one of the people in that chase group is pushing too hard, but they are closing that gap. Also the Swiss skier, that is Nikola Vigor, 9th in the Classic. He was one of those skiers that pushed the pace late in that class.
He looked comfortable, he's being patient, waiting for when he needs to attack or put a surge in. So again, Steve, just talking a bit about bib numbers, you see Jonas Vika, bib 21. They were the first ranked team. So we had a race earlier today in the mixed relay with the juniors that went bibs 1 through 14. And so now we're starting off bib 21, 22, and onward for these U23 mixed relay championships.
So a little bit of a bump there, but I think Zandon McMullen, the best strategy is to let this Swiss skier Vigor lead the pace.
Stephen, it was interesting, you know how Remy was just off the back, he was patient. Now he's already moved up 2 or 3 spots. He's such a smart racer, has experience racing on the World Cup. So he's setting himself in a good position here on the second leg.
So it's Switzerland, US, France, Canada, Sweden. And the French skier, Julien Arnaud, who was 3rd in the classic race, again skiing without gloves. The gloveless wonder, Julien Arnaud, very strong classic skier. Then we've got some of the other teams. There's the Japanese and the Australians. Japanese, that's Kasahara for the Japanese, and Bentley Walker Bruce for the Australians. So they've formed kind of a second group there, or third group, I should say, here in our U23 mixed relay. This is the second leg. Early on in the second leg, this is the men's skiing classic here in this mixed relay. There's the Czech team, Czechia team. That is Thomas Dufek. He was 21st in the classic race, so a very strong classic skier. Can he close the gap back to that group? And there is the group that is in that battling for third position. I think this is a smart move by McMullen to let this very strong Swiss skier push the pace and try and close the gap to our top 2 skiers.
Yeah, Steve, you're trying to find that balance of closing the gap to our leaders, yet saving something for the second lap where you can try putting on a surge and break away and open up a gap in the exchange.
So here we've got to climb to above the stadium. They're coming to the close of their first 2.5 kilometers here. A little bit of slipping there by Durks, and I wonder if Jonas Vika is going to push the pace here, but Durks matching him stride for stride. Now the Italian, I think 27, moving to the front. That's Chiocchetti. And he actually was part of the bronze medal winning team from last year at the U23 championship, so he has some good experience at this kind of race.
And Steve, they're only coming to the halfway point on the second leg. It's still early. It was about 10 seconds back at that last time check. And so a lot can happen, especially we'll see who is pushing a bit too hard on the first lap and who has saved something for the second lap.
Okay, so with the Italian on your right, the Swiss on your left, but 6 countries in there. Julien Arnaud going without the gloves there. The Frenchman, third in the classic race. There's your top two. Jonas Vika of Norway, Jan Fredrik Durks of Germany.
And Steve, just seeing how Vika has skied all week, I expect him to really make a surge on the second lap, try and secure a good lead before he does an exchange to leg 3.
And there is Nikola Vigor just sticking his hands out, just saying, I'm gonna lead through this corner. He had a very strong classic race. And Jonas Vika finishing the first 2.5 kilometers of his 5-kilometer leg. The second leg, we were chatting with Jonas Vika. He was very confident for the Norwegian team here. He wanted to give a shout out to his family and his girlfriend Mari. They're watching the live stream. And there is Norway and Germany. Germany can Durk stick with Vika. That would be huge because the handoff would be to Hoffman for Germany, who won the skate race, took a championship in the U23 skate race, and then it would get very, very interesting. Norway so dominant in the U23 category. Now Sweden coming to the front here in that chase group. That is Kavan Brink, 12th in the classic race.
And Steve, you know, knowing that Helen Hoffman's taking that third leg for Germany, Vika's going to know that, and he's going to want to really try and get a gap to make sure he sets his team up for a good position.
Yeah, Durks has just not concerned himself with trying to go to the front. Is this a moment of weakness for Durks as Vika pushes the pace here? Now Kavan Brink pushing the pace here. This is the climb out of the stadium. Arnaud, the French skier, just going to the outside. Kavan Brink of Sweden now pushing the pace out of the stadium. And you can see the French skier, Arnaud, without the gloves. He was third in the classic race, and he is saying now's the time. But Remy Drolet, number 31, responding for the Canadians. He took a silver medal in the Junior World Championships 3 years ago.
It really looks like Vika's pushing the pace here. Definitely getting a bit of a gap forming. He's going to need to make a big gap because we got Helen Hoffman for Germany skiing that third leg, and we know she is really strong in the skate technique.
So Kavan Brink opening up a gap on Kiyoketti. And Arnaud, but Drolet is right there, and Drolet looks good, Tim.
Oh, Drolet is skiing so well. He's positioned himself really well. He's hanging on to those guys, trying to close that gap.
And I think Durks is thinking, I can't stay with Vika. I've got to stay in control. But if I can stay within 10, 12 seconds, Hoffman, that should be able to close that gap or at least have a decent chance at it. And here's Kavan Brink. He was sitting in the pack for the first 2.5K of his leg, but he's moving to the front. Arnaud, the Frenchman, trying to close the gap. We know he's a strong classic skier, but struggling to close that gap. 31 is the Canadian, Remy Drolet. 27, the Italian.
And look here, as we go through the time check, Vika's already opened up 6 seconds over Durks, the German. Then we have Sweden, 14 seconds back off the lead. And then a close battle there from 4th all the way down to 8th with the American.
Yeah, you can see that large group sitting 18 seconds back. Oh, you can see in the distance there, McMullen of the U.S. team trying desperately to hang on to that group. But Kavan Brink is closing the gap to Germany. Sweden will be handing off to Moa Hansen, world champion in the sprint from last year. And there's Arnaud, so strong in the classic mass start, but he just can't close the gap to the Swede.
He can't shake Kiyoketti as well.
Yeah, Kiyoketti, 24th in the classic race. There's the German, there's the Swede. Just a few seconds now separating second and third. That's Swede, that's Kavan Brink. And it almost looks like he's closing the gap quite a bit to Jonas Vika as well. There's the Frenchman, Arnaud, the Italian, Kiyoketti.
And again, you can see there Kiyoketti gliding a lot longer than what Arnaud was doing. So could be a gauge on ski speed. Kiyoketti maybe having faster skis on the descent.
So they're on the second half of their 5K leg. If you're just joining us, this is the U23 mixed relay. It goes woman, man, classic, skate, skate. So we're in the second leg. men's skiing the classic leg. It is Norway out front, Germany in second, Sweden in third, but there is some separation amongst those skiers. And Jonas Vika, our world U23 champion in the classic mass start, out front. Oh, and now the Swede has moved into second.
He has closed that gap. That is impressive. He was about 3-4 seconds back of Dirks the last time we saw him come through the camera. And now he's got, you know, 2 or 3 seconds ahead of Dirks coming to this final descent before they climb up above the stadium.
And now this group of 3 is closing the gap to Dirks, France, Italy, and Canada.
And Remy still in a good position. You know, you don't want it too tight coming to the exchange zone or it gets a little chaotic. You want it a little strung out so you can make a nice, clean exchange.
So there we go. It was 8 seconds between Sweden and Norway. So to Kavan Brink closing the gap to Vika. And then you've got the German. And just a few seconds back, then you've got France. Oh, and look at Drolet from Canada, 31, moving to the front. Look at the power.
Yeah, look at his skis.
Drolet.
He's staying in the track the whole way up that climb. He has excellent skis from the Canadian Wax Techs, and he knew exactly where he needed to go and attack.
Oh, what a race here by Drolet as he closes the gap to the German in third. Arnaud, who was third in the classic mass start, trying to match the pace of Drolet. This second leg has been dramatic here. Dirks, oh, gritting his teeth here.
Oh, Steve, they're all gritting their teeth as they go up the second part of this final climb before they drop in the stadium. They are closing that gap on third. What great skiing by Remy Drolet and great skiing by the Frenchman Arnaud.
This is Jonas Vika descending into the stadium. He'll be handing off to Bergana, third in the skate race. Kavan Brink handing off to Mua Hansen. The German handing off to Helen Hoffman. Hoffman, of course, the skate winner for the women just a few days ago, couple days ago. There is Jonas Vika. A great second leg, but Kavan Brink of Sweden with an even faster second leg. And it's only going to be a handful of seconds here as Vika hands off to Bergana.
And Stephen, we've seen earlier in the week, we know Bergana can grit her teeth and just hammer out there. She's going to be doing that.
And it's only 5 seconds. Mua Hansen, she had a world championship last year in the sprint in U23. She's recovering from COVID, but looking strong now.
And here's that battle for the bronze. Helen Hoffman sitting in third, but we got the Canadian Lillian Gagnon heading out there, as well as the French team.
That is Julie Pierrel for France. The Italian Martina De Centa. Oh my goodness. Hoffman has a mission to catch the 2 skiers in front of her. Look at the power she has. 5K now as Bergana pushes here for the Norwegians.
Stephen, that last shot, we had Hoffman up in the lead. You know, we have the Canadian Lillian Gagnon sitting back there. She's in an awesome position there to sit back, be patient, let Hoffman do the work to try close that gap.
So Lillian Gagnon for the Canadians. She raced the Tour de Ski on the World Cup earlier this year. From the Ski Bec Club, just outside of Quebec City. And look at that. Oh, we're got 5 skiers coming together. That's a surprise team with Hoffman pushing the pace. 5 skiers coming together in that battle for third.
That's what can happen in these exchanges. A nice, clean exchange, a little surge, 2-3 second surge, and you can bridge a 10-second gap pretty quick.
So there's Bergana looking very powerful. There's Mua Hansen. I was talking to her earlier this week. Very strong last season, but early this season came down with COVID, and she's just had a few races this season. There is Hoffman leading the chase group. Pierrel of France, then Gagnon of Canada.
Steve, we've got to remember what we've seen is there's a lot of emotion out there in these relays, and these athletes have to be very careful that they don't go out too hard, especially on this first lap. They got to find that balance, and so we'll see on that second lap, have some of these athletes, you know, let their emotions take control and push a little too hard, a little too early in this leg.
Yeah, that is so true, Tim. You know, you get excited. Everyone's cheering you on as Mua Hansen just stays upright. But everyone's cheering you on, you're pushing, and you've got to just manage manage the pace. You don't want to burn your matches too soon. And there's the chase group. And look at that, Pierre L with some fast skis for France.
Pierre and Lillian move ahead of Hoffman.
Wow, did not expect that. Hoffman. Oh, two skiers down.
It looked like there was a bit of a tangle between Lillian and Hoffman, and they went down.
And there's the American.
Yeah, American Laukli. You know, she might be able to move up, take advantage of that crash.
Oh my goodness, a touch of skis. And it looked like Germany and Canada down. Laukli, who was third in the Tour de Ski on the final stage at Val di Fiemme, Alpes-Chemise. Oh my goodness. That could definitely change the odds here. And here we go. Here's a great replay. You see Pierre L cut close. Gagnon there as well.
Yeah, and there's that bridge in the way there. Did someone step on someone else's ski? And when you do that, you lose total control of your footing.
And they're coming out of that sharp corner, so you're already just on one ski. It's really tough to stabilize yourself if you touch a ski in that situation. There is Bergana.
She takes a look over her shoulder to see if that gap is closing.
Oh, it is closing. Oh my goodness, Moa Hansen recovering from COVID. Oh my goodness, she got fourth in the classic sprint. Oh my goodness.
Hansen looks so relaxed there. It seems like she's controlling the emotions, slowly just thinking about each stride, gaining an inch here on Bergana.
So there is the Swiss skier. That is Anja Weber.
When we saw earlier, Steve, with that crash, the Swiss skier was able to jump around the tangle up and move her way into third place.
So Germany, I can see, is starting to come back here. Moa Hansen. Oh my goodness. This is a solid race by the Swede after coming back from COVID, having very few races this season, matching the pace of Bergana. Then the Swiss, now we can see Hoffman, the German, closing back now, passing the French skier. We can see just coming over that climb, Lillian Gagnon, the Canadian, and then Laukli, the American. Critical here for the Americans to close this gap as Hoffman now moves into fourth after that fall.
Yeah, good recovery by Hoffman. Get back up on her skis and fight back and move up some of those positions after that crash.
So this is the third leg of the mixed relay. Just completing their first 2.5 kilometers of 5 kilometers in total on this leg. Anja Weber, Helen Hoffman, Julie Pierre, Martina De Centa. Switzerland, Germany, France, and Italy.
Fighting it out for that bronze medal position.
There's Bergana, completed 2.5 laps, but you can see she's really pushing hard here. Just looking a little bit of weakness here. The shoulder starting to roll over a little bit as she's got 2.5 more kilometers.
Did she start too hard? Did she save enough for the second lap? You know, judging from earlier in the week, it seems like she can set a pace and just keep maintaining that. But the Swedish skiers, Steve, both leg 2 and leg 3, they have been skiing it so well, just in control, waiting for the right time to put on the pressure. It seems to be paying off as they sit in second place.
There is the battle for third. Switzerland, Germany, France, and Italy. And they can see the two skiers in front of them. They're heading out for another 2.5 kilometers here on this third leg. There's Bergana. This is the climb out of the stadium. U23 mixed relay, the final cross-country ski event.
And Steve, on this skate course, there's sort of two major climbs, two important climbs. It's the first climb out of the stadium. So if you want to try and break away, you got to do it there. Or then the last climb up when you come up above the stadium before you drop in.
Bergana climbing. 2 bronze medals. There's Moa Hansen, the Swede.
She looks like she's slowing just a little bit. Did she put in too much energy on that first lap?
Swedes trying to hold on to position 2, and there's Hoffman going to the front. Hoffman has moved into third. She had a fall earlier in this leg. She's moving to third, and she is trying to catch at least the Swede. Could she catch the Swede and the Norwegian? She was world champion in the 10K skate 2 days ago. and she was junior world champion in the skate race last year. So a very strong first-year U23 skier as the coaches and athletes cheer on Bergana. Bergana now extending a lead on Mua Hansen. You don't see Mua Hansen in the background yet, so
yes,
she's...
Steve, and on the last lap, we had seen Mua Hansen there, and it's Hoffman, who I was just gonna say when they went out of the screen, the tempo that she was setting on that climb, it looked like she was really putting an attack in, and sure enough, she has moved into second place.
She's 15 seconds down, and I think she's just thinking, catch the Norwegian. She doesn't care what's happening behind her. She's not gonna wait. She's not gonna pace off anyone else. She's put her brain in gear to try and catch the Norwegian Bergana, and this is critical for Germany. You can see how close it is, and anything can happen in that final lap. You just don't know final leg, you just don't know which athlete, which country can just rise to the occasion with the pressure and the drama of a relay. There, Hoffman.
Steve, just how well Hoffman has skied this leg. She had that crash on that first lap. She was able to like mentally bring it back together, come back in an attack. I think she was down in like 6th place after the crash and fight back into 2nd place here.
And that's the point where the crash happened 2.5 kilometers ago. And there's Laukli, the American, free skating, trying to push the pace. Gagnon, a smart move by Gagnon to just let Laukli set the pace. But I think Laukli, she's got to try as hard as she can, as I'm sure she is, but to catch that group that's battling for 3rd, because that could really set up the Americans on this last leg, just in the final 1.5 kilometers here for the 3rd leg. They'll be handing off to the men. That'll be the anchor leg. They'll be skating. So again, it's Norway out front, then the battle for 2nd as Hoffman has closed the gap there. Germany and Sweden, part of that group.
There's the anchor leg for the Americans. Johnny Steele, the Iron Man. You know, it's great to see the glitter on his cheeks. That's what Relay Day is all about, bringing out the relay socks, bringing out the glitter.
That's something the American team started. They had the relay socks, then they got the glitter, and a lot of teams adding that to their arsenal on Relay Day. And there, oh, it's 4 seconds. It's 4 seconds now. Hoffman closing the gap. She closed almost 10 seconds in the last kilometer. And there you go. Hoffman has made contact to Bergana.
Steve, this whole pack has made contact with Bergana. I thought Bergana was going to ski away with it.
Oh my gosh.
And here comes Weber making a charge on this final climb. This is the final climb. It's a 2-part climb. They'll come above the stadium and then they'll drop in for that final exchange.
Oh my goodness, this is the 3rd leg, the final climb here. They're gonna be handing off. Anja Weber moving to the front. Hoffman in 2nd there in that group.
And then I believe it's Italy, DeCenta in 3rd, then Moa Hansen, and Bergana is sitting in 5th place.
Oh my goodness.
Steve, I did not see this coming.
Oh my gosh, Anja Weber, who looked like she was just trying to hang on, saving a bit of energy, and now pushing. Oh my gosh, this is the battle for gold.
This has all happened in about the last kilometer of racing that we've seen.
Anja Weber was back in 5th. Now she's to the front, and Bergana falling off the pace here. The lactic acid burning through her legs, but she's got to push on. Oh my goodness, did not see this coming. The Norwegians are falling off the pace. They do have their strongest skater and the 4th leg. But Switzerland with Anja Weber, what a leg here for the Swiss skier. Oh my goodness, and now DeCenta, what a leg here by the Italian.
All 3 of the medals are going to come down to this final leg.
Oh my goodness. That is the battle for 1st right now.
For 2nd and 3rd.
So the Swiss skier, Anja Weber, handing off in the lead. This is the battle for gold, folks. The final leg in our U23 mixed relay.
You can see those athletes, that final leg, they're raising their hand. This is where I am, look for me. They want a clean exchange.
Oh my, I did not expect this at all. The German now in the front.
So we have four countries here, Steve, 4 nations battling it out for all 3 medals. This is where there's gonna be some patience. You gotta take control of those emotions. Don't go out too early.
There's the Canadians handing off.
There's Sacha Masson going out in the final leg.
So this is the Germans, Sassau. Oh, but look at the Italians moving into second. This is Elia Barp. He was 5th in the skate race. And look
Fifth
at
in the
this.
sprint, so we know he can skate distance as well. Should have a finishing kick if it comes down to that.
But now the German pushing hard on this climb. That is Sassau. The French are still in there. Where are the Norwegians? There's Merck. He had that dominating performance in the skate race a couple days ago. He needs a very strong race here to get the Norwegians back in the mix.
Yeah, Stephen, right now, just with what's happening out there mentally, they just got to focus on their own race still, not get too caught up in those emotions. It's early on. You know, there may be a kilometer or so into this 5-kilometer leg.
There's 5 skiers in that lead pack. You see Merck, the Norwegian, closing the gap. That's Barp on the front. He was 5th in the skate race a couple days ago. There's Merck, the Norwegian, sitting 6th. He's closing the gap. So we have 5 and almost 6 skiers battling for gold in the mixed relay for U23, our final race for cross-country skiing at these World Ski Championships for junior and U23.
Yeah, Steve, I think Norway's going to jump back on here. They're going to close down that gap on this descent, and it's going to be 6 teams battling it out for all 3 medals.
Now the strategy, the tactics start to come into play because they're thinking, do I have enough for a sprint? Should I sit back? Should I push the pace? Should I try and drop other skiers?
This is where they have to know who they're up against, right? So those sprinters are going to want to sit back, be patient, let it all happen in the last couple 100 meters because they know they can sprint, whereas those distance skiers, they don't want to be battling it out with those sprinters in the end. And so look for those distance skiers to push this pace early on and try and break away.
You can see Moa Hansen totally in agony as she pushed there on that 3rd leg for the Swedish team.
Steve, that's where we talked a lot about these athletes rising to the top. Again, that pressure sometimes just goes away. They're fighting it out for their team, for their nation, and not focusing on that individual result.
So if you're just joining us, this is the U23 mixed relay final leg. Each skier skiing 5 kilometers, 6 skiers in the hunt for a gold medal. Now I think Mork, just thinking about the skiers, so the Norwegian skier looks like he's catching that lead pack. He had such a dominating performance in the skate race, the individual skate race, and there we go. Mork to the front. Mork to the front. I think he's going to decide to push the pace.
He's got to push it, and he did it so well in that skate race. You know, that was the only race he's raced at these championships was that skate, and so he doesn't want to have it come down to the sprint. And there's Sacha Masson coming. 7th place skiing into this lead pack. He's in it for a medal. Wow, Steve, what a race by the Canadians.
Norway, Sweden, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, France, and Canada in the battle. That's your lead pack right there. Now they're going up the climb above the stadium. They're gonna have another 2.5 kilometer lap, but I think Mork has decided he's strong enough to push the pace.
You can definitely see just with that tempo, how much power he's putting in. He's setting a mean pace out there. He's like, I don't want to see you guys beside me in that finishing straight. I'm gonna go for it now with about 3 kilometers to go.
And you can see the body language. I think the French skier struggling to stay with this pack. That is Rousset, who was strong in the skate race. He had 4th. He was 0.3 of a second out of a medal position, but he's struggling. Oh, look at the skis.
Yeah, just they're signaling to each other. They don't want to bump into each other on that downhill. They want to keep things, you know, nice and clean out there.
This is Gieselman for the Swedes. So just to put this in perspective, Lurk was first in the skate race. Gieselman was 18th, but they're staying together, a pack of 6. Oh, and 2 skiers down. The German and Italian are down. Oh my goodness.
Skis were tangled up, sunglasses are broken.
Oh my goodness. Can they come back? Merck has decided he's gonna push the pace. There's no question, that's his strategy. Oh, a touch of skis for the Germans and Italians, but the Germans coming back quickly.
They're still in contact there. You know, it takes a little bit of extra energy to put a surge on, but if he can get back onto the tails with the skier in front of him, take a little recovery break.
The Canadians in 6 now, 2.5 kilometers left here in our mixed U23 relay.
And Mark definitely has been putting that pace on. Can he maintain it for another 2.5 kilometers, Steve? What a pace he is setting there. Who is going to stick with him? Is it going to come down to a sprint finish?
Mork, I don't think wants anything to do with a sprint finish. He had that really strong race a few weeks ago in the Scandinavian Cup, finishing just behind 2 World Cup winners this season in Anderson and Amundsen. A very dominating performance earlier this week as well, pushing the pace, but those 4 skiers holding with them, the German just off the pace. There's the Italian, he had the fall with the German, trying to get back into this. That is Ilya Barp.
And Sasha Masson still right in there.
Sasha Masson from Whitehorse, Yukon, hanging with the Italian. He is in 6th spot. Now let's, Tim, get a sense here. Who is pushing? Who is relaxed?
Mark is still just pushing that pace. He wants to break all these other teams.
Savary 4, Switzerland, he was 6 in the skate race. Rousset was 4th. There's the German.
What a recovery from that crash from the German. He's still just right there, ever so close to this lead pack.
So 4 skiers right now in that lead pack. There was a crash in the stadium.
You can see there the Swiss skier, he's getting too close to the Norwegians, just touching his pole so he doesn't run up on them or crash into him.
So we're in the final 1.5 kilometers here of our U23 mixed relay. 4 teams.
And the Swiss team there, they look like they have some good skis as he pulls out in front, has a small, like, half-meter gap after that descent.
That's Antonin Savary from Switzerland, the anchor leg here. He is the Swiss national champion in the 10K skate.
And here's that crash.
So we're gonna just take a quick look here at that fall that was in the stadium. Tim, take us through it.
Yeah, and so here we have, it was between the German skier and the Italian. It just looked like, I think the Italian skier caught the tail of the German skier ski and sent them both down.
And look how quick the German recovers, but the Italian gets completely down in the snow. Well, look at the German, he just rolls
right back
on
onto his feet, whereas the Italian got a ski stuck in the snow there.
A quick recovery by the German, and that may give them a chance here for a medal. But again, we're into the 9 kilometers here. The final race of these championships for cross-country skiing, U23 mixed relay. I can't forecast this. I'm not sure how this is going to unfold here. They're now moving to the front is Rousset of France and Savary of Switzerland.
The 4th place in that skate race.
Savary was 6th. Gieselman was the weakest of these skiers.
All these skiers do not want it to come to that sprint. They are pushing as hard as they can right now up this final climb.
This is the final climb. Going up above the stadium. Rousset of France launching an attack. Gieselman of Sweden responding. Savary of Switzerland right there. The Norwegian falling to 4th, Merck 4th. Rousset driving. He missed a medal by 3.3 of a second in the 10K skate race. He's going for gold, but Gieselman holding the pace.
He is going for it, but has he gone too early, Steve? They still have about 300 meters of flat in that stadium. A lot can happen then.
Savary of Switzerland falling off the pace. It's down to 2 at the front. Rousset of France hungry for a medal. Fourth in the skate race, Gieselman on his tail. Savary a second back. Murk of Norway falling back. It's two skiers coming into the stadium. France and Sweden battling for gold. U23 mixed relay. Rousset gritting his teeth, going all out. Gieselman gasping for oxygen. Rousset, he wants a medal. He wants gold around this final corner. Rousset, but Gieselman trying to get the inside. But Rousset closes the door. The sprint to the finish. France and Sweden. France going for it. Sweden trying to come out on the left. They are side by side, driving to the finish. Rousset of France, he can do it. France, U23 relay champion. Sweden second. Switzerland in third. Norway in fourth. Rousset taking it home for France for a world championship.
Steve, I did not see that coming. Norway was shut out of the medals there. What a finish by the French team. Sweden was able to respond. It came down to that last 100 meters, and Switzerland for the bronze.
Rousset overcoming the disappointment of fourth place by 0.3 of a second in the skate race as the Canadians come in with a solid sixth place finish.
What a race for Sacha Mason and the Canadians. And there comes the Americans in seventh. You know, it was so great to see that final leg. There was about 7 teams there in that exchange starting that final leg. It was anyone's race.
And I think Gieselman rising to the occasion. There you see Mua Hansen. And there is the Italians.
Look there, he's skating in on a classic ski, Steve. He must have broken his ski in the crash. And that's why the Italians falling far back.
And there is the French. Oh my goodness. Rousset, I just can't imagine the disappointment he felt, and he made sure. Oh my
Steve,
goodness.
you talk about rising to the top. Looking back at the results, you know, French team has come away with 1 medal with the U23 team, a 3rd in that classic mass start. You know, they've had some 4th place, a 9th place finish, but they definitely, as a team, came together and rose to the top and walked away with gold here.
Talk about rising to the occasion. The celebration by the French. Well, it was vino for the Italians, but it's going to be champagne for the French tonight here at Whistler Olympic Park here in British Columbia. The Finns coming in now. They'll be in 9th spot. This is Urla of Finland, 9th spot for the Finns. Oh, the French are beside themselves. Vive la France here in Whistler. They just don't know how to process this.
I don't know how to process this, Steve.
Rousset, vive la France, vive la France. Oh my, l'équipe de France. And there's Antonin Savary getting the bronze for Switzerland, somehow holding on there. Here is Hirose of Japan. He had the strong World University Games, finishing in 10th for the Japanese. There is the French team. Oh my goodness.
That cheering says it all, Steve.
Duchefort, Arnaud, Pierrel, and Rousset. World U23 Mixed Relay Championships.
And that is what relay racing is all about. Just coming together as a team, you know, maybe not the favorite to come in here, but fighting for it every inch out there and winning gold today here in Whistler.
Here's the Czechia team coming in. This is Thomas Lucas coming in for the Czechs. 11th place of the 14 teams racing today. The Canadians, a strong result.
Yeah, 6th place, 35 seconds off the lead. That was some excellent racing there. You know, Lillian had that unfortunate fall, came back from it. Great exchange to Sacha Mason to be in that lead pack starting that 4th leg.
And there's the celebration of the Swiss team. Nadja Kalin, Nicola Vigger, Anja Weber, and Antonin Savary. There's the Swedish team, Lindstrom, Kavanbrink, Hansen, and Gieselman. And you can see the smile on Hansen's face. You know, she struggled with illness She's only had a few races, but she came through. And the Swedish team with Gieselman anchoring, finishing second.
Those Swedish skiers skied so well. You know, they were always just fighting, gaining ground, being patient, waiting to attack. And it paid off for them today.
And there's the Kazakhstan team, Begzultan, coming into the finish. And there's Juseh. The celebrations of the French team, c'est incroyable. Tremendous. He attacked him on that final little climb above the stadium. Got a little bit of a gap, but the Swede was just on him like a honey badger.
I was afraid he went a bit too early on that final climb.
Yeah,
but he was able to maintain that lead all the way through that stadium. And it's a grueling 300 meters around that stadium, and he was able to stay out front and hold off the fight from the Swede.
Allez, allez, allez for the French team. There's the Australian team. This is Adam Barnett finishing up for the Aussies.
There's the Swiss winning bronze. You know, I talked with the coach, Marco, earlier. He's just like, any top 10 performances we have at these championships, we are excited for. And then to finish the last race of the championships with a bronze medal in the relay, they are pumped.
And you know, France got the silver medal last year in the mixed relay, but they one-upped it and got the gold here at Whistler Olympic Park. You know, the French team, they were inspired by the great results in the World Cup by the French team. I love the Swiss. Oh my. Kaelin, Weber, and Savary. Savary, the anchor leg. And this is the Slovakians, Renda. Finishing up, he had some strong results in the Slavic Cup leading into these championships. Slovakia coming into the finish here in the stadium. So Slovakia finishing up here. So Slovakia was Klementova, Chenik, Savokova, and now Renda with the final leg here.
Steve, what a race. You know, so interesting, so many teams battling it out. You know, big kudos to John Alberg for course design. You know, talking to him earlier in the week, this was the reason they designed this course for this relay, to make things exciting, bringing those teams together, battling it out all the way to that finish. Well job with the organizing committee, with that course, setting up for an exciting relay here today.
Yeah, you know, this organization, all the volunteers, they've worked so hard for 3 years and just put on such a great championships. We talked to Luke Jager yesterday, and he said, this is such a great event they've been at, and what a way to finish it off. I mean, just the celebration of this venue, of this organization, and this broadcast team, Mesh Broadcast, putting together and bringing these images to the world. So many people joining us to watch this, and what a way to finish off the cross-country ski events at these World Ski Championships. There's ski jumping later today. There's more events tomorrow, but the cross-country skiing wrapping up with a mind-blowing, magnificent, incredible, wonderful.
We need that book, the 1001 Things.
There's not enough adjectives in a thesaurus to describe what we just saw there. So many teams in the running in the final
There was
minute.
crashes, everything was taking place there. Broken skis, we saw the Italian finishing the skate leg with a classic ski on.
Oh. Incredible, incredible, incredible.
So,
C'est
yeah.
incroyable.
Great job to the Black Tusk Nordic Event Society for putting years of work into this event. Amazing job. You know, all the volunteers, our sponsors, today's sponsor, Haywood, out there. You saw on the bibs, Haywood. I mean, Haywood is our sponsor for the day. We couldn't do it without our sponsors, without those volunteers, without the organizers. Thank you to everyone.
Yeah, Haywood, an investment firm that's really supported cross-country skiing for so many years in Canada. So great to have Haywood sponsoring this event to finish off the cross-country ski events here in Whistler. Yeah, I'm just trying to analyze and process that finish by Rousset. I mean, think about the disappointment he had when he finished 4th by 0.3 of a second. He would have watched that over and over again thinking, how could I have done it differently to get a medal? Well, he did it differently here with that crazy finish.
He did, yes, that's for sure. But I don't think in the moment he was thinking about that. It was just gritting the teeth, going as hard as I can, all the way to the finish line, hoping he could hold off the Swede skier, and that's what he did.
Wow, just incredible, incredible racing as we wind things down here. Some incredible images, Tim, of this relay. It was snowing for the first leg, second leg, Vika moving to the front, but then on that third leg, the Swiss moving to the front, and then a crash on the third leg. Then the finish by Rousset.
And what a performance by him today.
It's France on top of the world in Whistler today. Okay, folks, what a race that was. And we're going to go down to the award ceremony for our U23 mixed relay, our final award ceremony for cross-country skiing this week.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Whistler Olympic Park and to the FIS Nordic Junior and U23 World Ski Championships award ceremony for cross-country U23 mixed relay. Bonjour et bienvenue à la cérémonie des vainqueurs au Parc olympique de Whistler pour les championnats du monde junior U23 FIS de ski nordique pour la cérémonie ski de fond U23 relais mix. The medals will be presented by. Les médailles seront remises par Mikko Rantanen, Technical Delegate FIS. Accompagné par David Hay, Cross Country Race Secretary for Black Tusk Nordic Events Society. The bronze medalist, representing Switzerland. La médaille de bronze, représentant la Suisse. Membre de la formation, Nadia Kellen, Nicolas Weger, Hania Weber et Antonin Savary. The silver medalist representing Sweden. La médaille d'argent représentant la Suède. Team member Louise Lindström, Gustav Vlabink, Moa Hansen et Truls Gisselman. The FIS gold medalist and FIS U23 World Champion Cross Country 2023 representing France. Vos médaillés d'or et champion du monde 2023 représentant la France. Membre de la formation, Ève Ondine Duchauffour, Julien Arnaud, Julie Pierrel et Gaspard Rousset. The gifts will be given by. Les cadeaux seront présentés par Jake Weaver, Chief of Competition, Black Tusk Nordic Events Society. In honor of our winning team today, the anthem of France, en l'honneur de nos champions du monde, l'hymne national de la France. Once again, your applause for our winners. À nouveau, vos applaudissements pour nos gagnants.
Team France, c'est magnifique. Champion du monde. What an incredible race, Tim. We talked about rising to the occasion for the relays. How about that?
Steve, and they did just that out there. You know, that was action-packed. There was snow coming down. There was rain coming down. There was falls early on. It came down to, I think, 7 teams going out on that final leg, and those French skiers rose to the top. You know, they came away with, I think, a bronze medal earlier on in these championships, and now they go home with gold.
And the Swedes fought to a silver medal. They looked like they were falling back, but they fought to a silver.
Yeah, he was able to hang on to the final attack by Rousset. Oh, what a race. The course out there was designed perfectly for that excitement.
And then the Swiss getting the bronze medal here too.
Yeah, Anja Weber fought in the middle there, fighting, moving up. Oh, Steve, great racing out there. Tremendous performance by those athletes out there today.
Yes, very, very, very exciting out there. And Tim, we also talked about celebrating the moment for these championships. You know, it's so easy at a Junior World Championships U23 to start projecting forward, but just taking in the moment and celebrating the moment.
Oh, and those teams are going to be celebrating tonight before they head out. You know, going into this race, everyone was talking Norway, Norway. They've been so dominant, you know, and Norway didn't even make it onto the podium, Steve. So those athletes, especially those French teams, they're going to be celebrating. Here we have a look at the start of the race today.
So Norway up front, but also Sweden and Switzerland, and then Germany went to the front. Looking very good for the Germans on the first leg as Hoffman of Germany pushing the pace with Fosnes of Norway.
No, that was Lohmann there, the Terminator out in first leg. You know, we see the snow coming down. Here they come, leg 2. Germany and Norway had broken away, made a little gap. You see Jonas Vika going for it, definitely pushing. I thought at this point in the race, Steve, that Norway was going to start to walk away with it, but that did not happen. You know, here Sweden's coming back, fighting back, and we saw a group come back together here.
And there is Hoffman leading the chase, and then Anja Weber leading into that exchange, that final exchange. The Italian Barb going to the front, then in the stadium, Tim.
Yeah,
disaster.
Norway came back, and we had a crash. Some drama, I believe a broken ski, all the way fighting to the finish, with the French team finishing on top, winning the gold here today.
We're set with an incredible finish, holding on. We didn't think he could hold on, but the French will be celebrating with champagne, Champion du Monde for Team France. Sweden in second, Switzerland in third. What an incredible championships this has been, Tim, for cross-country skiing. There's still some more ski jumping to come, but the cross-country skiing wrapping up with I think what might be the most exciting cross-country relay I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Steve. You know, what a way to finish off the cross-country ski portion with a race like that. Great performances by all those athletes. You know, Canada coming in 6th place there. You know, I was looking at some of the lap times in Canada. The Canadian skiers had some of the fastest lap times of the day. So kudos to them and all the athletes.
And just a shout out to this incredible organization that put on these events. They've been working for 3 years to put this together. The organization, all the volunteers, the athletes for their incredible competitions, the Mesh broadcast team bringing these incredible images to the world. What incredible and dramatic, exciting racing we have seen.
Yeah, Steve, thank you to everyone. Black Tusk Nordic Event Society, Mesh Broadcast, Zone 4 with their timing, all the athletes, the sponsors.
It was a thriller in Whistler. We'll see you soon.